Hey there, my fellow lunatics, and welcome to Dakon's Madhouse. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my brand new laboratory. We got to think of a name, patent pending. So today we are going to be talking about a brand new build that I'm excited about, but I'm not going to say this is my strongest build, but it's definitely one where I'm having some fun. It's kind of a mage-lock build where we are kind of blending together the magic user and the warlock to see how we can combine them for some good synergy. This build starts off with the Grim Hood, and this is an endgame build, so everything is level 19. Now you can find the Grim Hood in charred crates, off of lava slimes, or off of Igneous himself. Basically just look around the molten quarry. You can even find it in some in the smoldering chests. Main reason I went with this hood is because it adds magic damage and it provides a bonus to my minion count. So it's useful for both improving my magic and improving my summoning. Next we have got the Sorcerer's Robe. We're also wearing the Sorcerer Pants. Both of these items give me boosts to my magic damage, my barrier, my mana. They're just really strong magic gear. You can find these throughout the Sunken Sea, off of the Core Sentries and the Caveling Scholars. You'll also find them off of Blue Slimes, in various chests, seashell chests, locked octarine chests. It even drops off of Morpha. Our lantern is the Pearl Lantern. This is just for some mana regen, and you can craft this at the octarine workbench. For my necklace, I've gone with the Polished Gold Crystal Necklace. This is also craftable. You can craft this at the jewelry station, and this gives us a really strong boost to both our magic damage and our minion damage. Remember, your crafting skill has to be high enough for you to have that jewelry master crafting skill, which is what allows you to make the polished jewelry. The blue leather tome is my offhand item, again for the magic damage as well as the mana regen, and this is craftable at the Malagaz statue. My rings are the puppet ring, and I'm using both rings as puppet rings, and this gives me an increase to my minion count as well as improving my minion attack speed. The easiest way to get these is at the Desert of Beginnings. You can loot it off of various golden chests in the maze, in the temple rooms. You can get them off of Caveling Mummies, drops off of Raw Car. You can also fish it up in desert water, so if you want a more passive way of handling it, I recommend fishing these up. The Octarine Backpack is my backpack slot for that 20 magical barrier, and this is craftable at the Octarine workbench. I prefer the Scholar's Staff for this build, but frankly, other staves will work. You could use the Fireball Staff if you prefer. You could even use the Arcane Staff, although I don't entirely think it's the best one, as you do need to save some of your mana for resummons during fights, and so you don't want to always be low on mana, as this build really isn't crit focused, and you need a lot of crit to make the Arcane Staff really viable. So slower staves are better here. If you want to use the Corrupt Meteor Staff, if you want to use the Sun Collar, go ahead. I like the Scholar's Staff because of the boost to the magic damage that it provides. And when it comes to our summons, I think the Tome of Sprouts is the best. I prefer mine leveled up to 19, but I know there are a lot of people who prefer to keep their tomes at the default level just because of the decrease in the mana cost. That is also perfectly viable. Either way works best for whatever you prefer, or you could level it up to somewhere in between. If you don't like the Tome of Sprouts, the Tome of Ashes also works really well with this build. The Tome of the Dead also, again, works very, very well. You even could use the Tome of Bats, but personally, I think if you're going to use a ranged, you might as well use the Tome of Sprouts. I also like the Tome of Decay, although I haven't really tested it too much. I think that this could work with this build, but again, this one's a use at your discretion because I haven't really given it much testing. When it comes to pets, personally, I would recommend the Arcane Symbiote, which drops in Azios' Wilderness off of the Floricata bugs in the giant cicada holes, or the Snugglygrade, which you can get in the Passage biome. Both of these pets are really, really good. They can provide mana regen bonuses. They can provide magic damage. The Arcane symbiote can provide some mana barrier, which is really, really good. And the Snuggly Grade will help you fight in combat while providing you with that mana regen boost. So really, do you want a defensive pet that buffs you heavily, or do you want a pet that will help you in combat? Either one is going to work out for you pretty well. Let's take a look at the skill tree. Now, on the magic side, what I've done is I've kind of gone down the left-hand side to give myself a boost to my magic damage based on my magic barrier. I'm also giving myself extra magic damage when I have a crit, and I'm getting mana recovered when I have a crit. Now, mind you, this isn't a crit build, but I am going to have some critical hits in here. I also went ahead and went with my mana regeneration delay being reduced because I am using my mana a lot for summoning and for attacking. So while I am sacrificing some extra magic damage by not taking fully charged, my mana is constantly going to be fluctuating. So fully charged isn't worth as much to me as being able to get my mana back quicker. On the summoning tree, I kind of went down both sides here because I wanted my minion damage to be increased by the amount of my magic damage increase. I also wanted my magic damage to get increased by my active minions so that my minions synergize with my magic damage and both of them kind of improve on each other. Unfortunately, that does mean that I did have to take power in numbers, which doesn't really help me much in this build, but it's unfortunately a prerequisite to get group effort. On the explosive side, even though I'm not really using explosives, it's just good to know that I've got Mana Blast so that I can get mana back when detonating an explosive. Now, mind you, it just says detonating, not doing damage. So if you want to carry some extra grenades on you and just randomly throw them off to the side and then just to get some mana back, whether you hit an enemy or not, it's not going to matter. It's still going to help. And then I have Afterburn to increase my burning damage. So if you decide to use a Fireball Staff rather than what I'm using, the Scholar Staff, if you're using the Fireball Staff, then Afterburn is going to help you out a lot. On the Gardening Tree, I've got Potent Poison to increase my damage against poison targets. Now, this is only useful if you are using the Tome of Sprouts for your summoning pets, because these guys will poison targets. So if you are using these, then you will get an advantage out of Potent Poison. Otherwise, it's really not that big of a deal. Do make sure that you still take Thorny Weapons for that increased critical hit damage, as that will help you out. Ultimately, for myself, I went with this Arcane symbiote that happens to have gotten 5 critical hit chances, and then I used the quick click little glitch to get myself a 6th, and I grabbed this triple trouble. That's why you're seeing a -1 there. If you don't know how to do this, you just have to click real quickly between 2 tiles at the very end, and if you click fast enough, you can register the second click before the game registers that you don't have any points left, and you can get that -1 and a 6 skill in place. So this gives me 19 barrier, a mana regeneration delay reduction of 11%, a 20% damage boost, 15% critical hit chance, and a 2% chance to hit on hit to deal triple amount of damage. Now, not all of this is obviously being caused by the pet. Some of this is happening because of skills. I do have certain skills, I believe, that are causing that like 20% damage boost because the pet is considered an ally. And in the cooking tree, I do 20% damage dealt by you and all nearby allies. So this 20% really isn't actually doing anything. It says 20% damage, but that's 20% damage being that creature is doing. And since he doesn't attack, well, he's not doing anything, is he? But how does this do against the bosses? Well, let's do it up against a hard mode core commander, and let's see what happens. If you want to know which buff foods I'm using for this fight, be sure to check out my buff food video for endgame buff foods of all epic and rare varieties for all types of classes. everything's pretty effective, I'd say. So your mana regen is lacking with this build, but you make up for it with the summons. Don't forget to heal yourself. Pay attention to your hit points. It is worth noting that your minions will destroy the little triangle things that the core commander will shoot out. So if you find that he's using those on you a lot, just get those minions in between you and those fiery, nasty, triangle-y pieces of doom, and you won't have to worry about them anymore. And there you have it. Core Commander on hard mode, taken out by my brand new mage-lock build. So pros and cons. I think the biggest strength of this build is the fact that when you're combining all of your minion damage and all of your magic damage together, you get this nice synergy for a really strong and powerful build that actually does a lot of damage against bosses and is able to handle crowds very, very well. Primarily because the Tome of Sprouts attack just shoots off in that kind of cone radius with multiple hits. The biggest disadvantage I feel to this build is the lack of critical hit chance, combined with the fact that there's just not a lot of mana regen for it. Means that unless you're fully buffed all the time, you're gonna really struggle with mana, and that can be a problem when your primary attack and your primary summoning abilities require mana. So you really have to keep an eye on your mana versus how long your summons have been out, especially since on the skill tree you do sacrifice with this build that extra long lifespan of the summons, so you're going to be summoning a little bit more often. If you find that you're really struggling with that, you might want to rearrange and tweak your skills a little bit, maybe not go the exact route I went on the skill tree, and instead get the longing for this world skill, which will improve your minion lifespan. That could be something that helps some people out with this. Now, how would you modify this build? What would you change on it to fit your personal needs? What do you like? What do you don't like? Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more content. I hope you guys liked this video and they found it helpful and informative. Please stay happy, please stay healthy, and until next time, stay crazy, my friends.